Howdy, y'all, and welcome back to my own little corner of the Demonastery. So this weekend, I got the opportunity to go to not one, but two ProQuests in the Oklahoma City area. Went up with a couple friends, stayed the night up there, and had a really good time. Just want to talk about my results, show off the deck that I brought. I haven't really made, many small changes to it since I uploaded my deck tech, but I've never shown my pride and joy here on the channel, so I figured I'd take the opportunity. So first off, I've of course got my Vynnset hero tokens. I've got my cold foil, which I love. I've got an artist proof that I got a while ago. And then I've got an altar that I also got a while ago. But honestly, and unfortunately a little bit, I really only play the cold foil. It's just too nice not to. Going over my equipment, where there is like the only change that I've made. Flail of Agony is always the weapon. It's so good. Then Grimoire of the Haunt as the side. I did not bring Oval this weekend. I may be changing it in the future, but Grimoire never disappoints. Tokens, my different spells to just go in my Grimoire. They always sit right under there on the board. Face Purgatory, my primary and not only headpiece. I'm bringing Ebb and Fold, but didn't bring it in at all this weekend. This card's just great. It is just basically Scowling Fleshbag. However, it's less determined by what my opponent's doing and more determined by if I have a hand that works with it and I can take some cards from my opponent. And it's really situational. It doesn't always work how you want to. It doesn't like completely line up. Sometimes you really want to use it and you just don't have the non-attack, but I mean, I'm never going to complain about this card. Fiendal Spring Tunic, mostly used as just, a creepers option. Also great to play an Eloquent Eulogy. Pitch another red to play a 2-cost from hand if you have a lot of cards in your hand and your opponent didn't present anything. And you just want to keep their banish in your banish instead of playing it out immediately. And then also Envelop in Darkness versus Enigma, and then any other matchup where it's going to go long and I just feel like bringing that card in instead of anything else. Tunic's just really good. Vexing Quill Hand just lets you do whatever you want to do whenever you want to do it once per game. There's really no other option for the arm piece in my opinion. I could play Grasp of the Arcanite just for some extra block, but any matchup where Grasp would be good. Vexing Quill Hand, just being able to pop off your Disruption or whatever you want to do at a moment's notice is just a little bit better. Spellbound Creepers, not too much to say that's not already on the card, because there is a lot to say on the card. It's just really good. Lets you extend pretty much any turn. Lets you really pop off at a moment's notice without your opponent expecting it. You can do some really cool things with Eloquence tokens. Yeah, Spellbound Creeper is just super good. Reaping Blade was in versus Verdance and any Count Your Blessings heroes. I think I brought it in maybe one time when I just shouldn't have brought it in. I think I brought it in twice, 2 times versus Enigmas, and just should not have brought it in. I didn't run into any Count Your Blessings, didn't run into any Wizards at all, so it was almost a dead card, but I'm glad I had it. Ebb and Fold, also a dead card, just Spell Void 2 into Kano and Auxilio and Verdance. Just very good into those matchups. Dyadic Carapace, I played I think one time versus Aurora. This is great for, of course, the Wizards, but also any deck that the game's not going to go long enough to get good value off of Tunic. You can just play this and some 0-cost cards from your sideboard instead of Envelop in Darkness. It's very good. I was sleeping on this card before this set, so I just recently got the extended art. Was a little expensive. Should have gotten it sooner. That's on me. Carrion Husk, I played into Azalea. It is only for Azalea. It worked well in that matchup for the most part. Of course, you kind of are put on a clock afterwards, but being able to stop an on-hit on a turn where you really want to have a pivot is just super good. And then Dance of Darkness, yet another dead card. Spell Void 2 versus Kano for the most part. Maybe Auxilio if you really are worried about it, but I think you still want creepers in that matchup. Yeah, just very good. A lot of good equipment. All right. And if you did notice real quick, the only change that I made, I took out Crown of Providence and put in Dance of Darkness when the finals of, I think it was the Calling, was just 2 Kanos. Now, I wasn't going to risk not having the appropriate protection in case that came up. So, we've looked at a Rune Blade before here on the channel. We've looked at Briar, so we'll just start with the attacks. We'll separate them out best I can. So Deathly Wail is really the core of the deck still. It just does so much for you. The fact that you can play it immediately off of a Vexing Quill Hand activation just is super good. So we are playing 6 copies of it. It really just lets you extend into your best combos. You know, you can get 3 rune chants off of it with Funeral Moon or Malefic Incantation, but, you know, just having one stocked in your Banish Zone to best be able to take advantage of a growing Banish Zone is very good. I always want to have at least one of these stocked in Banish. You know, it's very good. We're playing the yellows of it. It's so good. Looking at some 2 gates. Whoop. Deathly Delight and Phantom Wraith, of course, are the main contenders. Deathly Delight can be worth 7 value if you use it on the back end of a turn where you pay with Flail or pay with Vynnset's ability. It just gets you that life back, really makes you not really have to make a decision on that. Yeah, very good. And then Phantom Wraith, just a simple 2 for 6. Good to play if you don't have anything else on your turn that you're doing. You can just chuck this out instead of a Deathly Delight or a Widespread Ruin, because you're not missing out on anything. Widespread Ruins is your main or one of your main ways of accelerating your banish. You really want to be paying the life on this whenever you can, especially in the early game, especially versus decks that don't help you banish, like pretty much just not Assassin. Widespread Ruin is just very good. It's your best 2-cost rune gate because it can actually give you card advantage. Widespread Destruction and Annihilation are our disruptive pieces. You know, just not too much to say about them. They're not the easiest to play, but when they do hit, they demand respect from your opponent, whether that's just taking their Crown of Providence or Widespread Annihilation if they just block with their whole hand. That's a win. That gives you a lot of space. So both of these are very good. Eloquent Eulogy is one of the best cards in the deck. Being able to just banish this and play it immediately is very good. Being able to have this sitting in banish and not play it, so that in the future, if you just don't have anything else to do, if you only have 1 rune chant, you can still play this to start a turn. Getting the Eloquence token off of it, opening up Funeral Moon lines and Read the Runes lines are just super, super good. It's undeniably one of the best cards in the deck. Bounding Demigon and Shadowverser are our 0 gates. Having some extra blues is really good. These are great if I'm thinking of blocking with Face Purgatory, but I don't know what attack to block with. These are a great candidate. And then Bounding Demigon, just being a 0-cost rune gate, comes in super clutch. You can use it almost at any time. It's very good. It is a debate on which of these is easier to play. It's probably Eloquent Eulogy because you can play it, you know, just without having to do anything. So late game, Eloquent Eulogy is better, but early game, Bounding Demigon, letting you extend with no requirements, is just really invaluable. So those are the attacks. I'm playing 30 attacks, so then the rest of my deck is always going to be 30 non-attacks, or in some case, 27 non-attacks and 3 reactions. So looking at our non-attack actions, we have our Go Again package. Shadow Puppetry is absolutely insane. Maybe the single best card in the deck. Getting a Breakpoint on a 6-power attack, Go Again to start your turn, Shadow to start your turn, and then on hit you can get some card advantage possibly. This card's just insane. Stacking this on top of a Widespread Ruin lets you send a Breakpoint and potentially banish 2 cards off the top of your deck. You can really start to stack up advantage with this card. Machinations of Dominion is our newest Go Again card, and it might be the second best just because of the stat line. Blue 3-block is super good. Overpower is good, but you're not really using that too much. It does help to force through damage to get some card effects like Funeral Moon, but, you know, just overall a really, really solid card. And then Mauvrin Skies is almost on the back end just because it's never going to hit, or almost never going to hit. But it does demand respect from your opponent. The 2-block hurts, of course, but, you know, I really like having 9 Go Again main board, and, you know, Mauvrin Skies is just the best option. Then our Rune Chant Generation main board, I have, of course, triple Deadwood Dirge. You can I've destroyed inertia tokens with these to keep an arsenal and really just, you know, keep aggression, especially into like Red in the Ledger. You know, just really good. Start your turn with it. You can use it mid-turn with a Malefic Incantation or a Deathly Wail. You can use it on your second attack when the rune chants are popping in order to, you break one of the popping rune chants, it still does the damage, and then you get 3 more on the back end. Just, really, really, really good card. Cannot believe they printed this. Can't believe they give us the extended art of this. Like, they knew what they were doing. Big shout out to Legend Story Studios for these. Not that I got them personally from them, but for printing them, of course. Revel in Runeblood, I've seen leave some lists, but I still really like it. It lets you open up your entire banished zone just by playing this card. It has some really nasty stipulations. You have some requirements, you have some punishment for playing it, but for the most part, this is just going to help you unlock some of your strongest turns. Playing this into a Deathly Whale, when you have an extra action point, like if you creep this in off of like previous go again, into Deathly Whale, into something else, it's really, really good. Then Funeral Moon is still the glue of the deck. Still just a really solid card. Doesn't do anything exemplary, but just being able to pop this off, get a rune chant with an Eloquence token, get an action point, it does a whole lot for you. Into the Enigma matchup, you can swing Flail of Agony, and then once you've paid the life, before the rune chant that you've made for your turn pops, you can play Funeral Moon, pay the life to Vynnset's ability, make that rune chant unpreventable, make one on the back end from Funeral Moon, and then this will just kill all the ward. It's a really nice play. So, Funeral Moon, still main board. I think I would maybe put it in the sideboard or just leave it in the main board, but whenever I'm playing Reaping Blade, this probably comes out because it loses a lot of its utility, not being able to be played with Flail. So, still super good, super solid. And then last main board non-attack action, Beseech the Demigod. 0 cost, buff, go again, shadow. I mean, this card does a lot for you. It really helps to push your Succumb to Temptations. Yeah, it's just a really, really solid card. It's just Envelop in Darkness, but free, and you don't get a rune chant. So I'll never complain about that. Then we'll look at the sideboard real quick. So Malefic Incantation is pretty much main board, but there were some corner cases where I thought I might not bring it in, might bring Envelop in Darkness instead, or some other option, but yeah, Malefic Incantation is absolutely an all-star. This card is really, really good. Just gives you rune chants at a really nice time. It lets you attack without too much to back it up, and you don't get punished. Your opponent can't actually reset you on rune chants because you always have the generation. Succumb to Temptation is also almost main board, but into really defensive decks where I'm gonna have trouble hitting and getting that disruption is not going to be super impactful, like into a Guardian, Enigma, just other defensive decks, Tekla-Vossen. This just is not coming in. But everyone else, this card is an all-star. This card puts fear in the hearts of our opponents. They have to play around it. If they don't play around it and they get caught by it, it pretty much just snipes their entire turn. This card is absolutely crazy. I love Succumb to Temptation. Envelop in Darkness, like I said, comes in with Fiendal Spring Tunic into those longer, grindier matchups, as well as versus ward opponents like Illusionists. Getting just an extra 3 cards to make a rune chant unpreventable is really, really good. Yeah, there are a couple other options that this could be. Like I said in my deck tech before, maybe Tear Through the Portal, but right now, with Succumb to Temptation, we're sitting at 12 go again most of the time, and that is a perfectly fine amount. So, yeah, Envelop in Darkness, really good, really solid, big role player. Sink Below, just as a extra defensive option. I'm only really playing this right now into, Aurora and Dash.io, because they play really similarly. They have instant speed or reaction speed on hit effects that you can then cut in with a Sink Below and stop them, and then make them expend something else from hand without getting the bonus of that on hit, especially into Aurora. You can make her do another thing to try to draw that card off of Channel Lightning Valley before she might get that hit. She's already used things, she's already given you more information, she might have made a misplay depending on what's on top of the deck that she wouldn't have made if she got to draw before. Sink Below, just a really solid role filler. I'm not playing it into decks where you might expect to see Sink Below, like Azalea. I think I did play it into her, but I may have been supposed to take Read the Runes. It was up in the air in that matchup, just because, in those matchups, you want to be able to use Sink Below to block the entire damage, and I'm not expecting to be able to do that into those matchups. So like new, I am not bringing Sink Below because all it's going to do is stop 4 damage, and there's a really good chance that I'm just going to want to keep my whole hand to send offensively, and having a Sink Below that's only going to be used defensively just doesn't do a whole lot. So yeah, it's weird. It's a weird inclusion, but I really liked it over the weekend. And then my Oblivion package into my slower matchups where I can really get Nazareth off. I have the room, and I almost have the requirement to. Oblivion is just always good. Read the runes, just 2 of them into those matchups to help get some extra rune chant generation, slowly stack up if I have the room. Yeah, I don't want 3, so 2 and 1 makes a really nice package. My main board is 51 cards, so having sets of 3 is really good. And then Chains of Mephetis is my tech card. I didn't see any brutes. I didn't bring this in at all. I think I'm cutting it for next weekend, but it's still really solid. There are a lot of brutes running around, a lot of viable brutes, mostly KO and Levia, but I have a Rhinar locally, so I knew there was going to be a Rhinar there at the ProQuests. So yeah, Chains was just in. Didn't bring it in, but I love the art. I love the card. Not going to say no to Chains. So yeah, that's the whole thing I took for this weekend. I really was impressed with it. I made some misplays. I had some bad luck in a top 8 game, but for the most part, I think I can pretty confidently say that I was on, everybody says they're on the best deck in the room, but I really do think I was on the best deck in the room. Like, I had strong matchups into Enigma. I had strong matchups into Aurora. Those 2 top decks, one of each, won each day of our ProQuests. I feel like I can beat both of them, and I have really strong matches into pretty much every other hero in the room. So really quick, just want to talk about my results for the weekend, talk about my matchups and how they went. Round 1 of Saturday, I paired into New, who I had been having some trouble with in the weeks previous to it, but I was feeling all right into the matchup. And of course, round 1, get absolutely high rolled. Turn 1 was Persuasive into Persuasive, really demanding a lot of blocks on my end that I did not want to give. But I just didn't have things set up to really, take that damage and try to keep moving past it. And then turn 2, they had Arsenal to Bonds of Agony the turn before, so they just play that Bonds. And I'm hoping that they don't have a Justinic, because they had played their Arsenal, so whatever they had in hand were just the top 4 cards of their deck. They hadn't set anything up. And of course, they had the Justinic. So I had given Face Purgatory. They have the Justinic. That's just going to get around that. So no real hope there for me. And then turn 3, they Codex back into that Bonds of Agony, use their equipment to make it happen. It was pretty over from there. I got to swing in. I think I got him down to below 10, but it was never really going to happen. Round 2, I played into a Victor, and it was tight. I got hit with some really strong disruptions, some really big attacks, but I was right there at the end. It was my 1 to their 2. I had not blocked with Tunic when I should have, because if I were at 2, I would have made the winning play. I was sitting on potentially 6 and 5 if they just sending a yellow Deathly Whale and then take some rune chance to next turn. I'm not sure what I was exactly thinking. What was I? Yeah, it was a weird one. What I didn't do was I didn't break Grimoire to play a Read the Runes to send 6. I had 3 and 5, and I didn't break Grimoire to send Read the Runes to play Widespread Annihilation with a Beseech the Demigod, I believe. I could have sent 6 and 9, which would have killed them if they had less than 2 4 blocks in hand. And he still had 2 Test of Strengths in deck, and if I did not kill him, I would have died on the spot. I had Nazareth on the board, so if I had been able to survive another turn afterwards, I felt confident I could kill him, but since I hadn't blocked with Tunic prior, I only had 1 HP that I could afford to give up. If I broke Grimoire and I didn't kill him, I lose that game, but I send what I do send. I did not break Grimoire. I see his hand. He had no 4 blocks. I would have just won that game. And then game went on, almost to fatigue, just swinging Nazareth 1 turn and banishing a non-blood deck card, and the next turn banishing a 2 cost and sending that, taking 2 cards, then 3 cards, then 2 cards, then 3 cards. I just never found the way to win. So yeah, Really, really unfortunate. I thought I would find the kill at some point because I had Nazareth on the board, but I just never got there. Really unfortunate. Really could have had a way better day potentially if I had taken that game, but just didn't happen. Luckily, round 3, I got a break. I got into Prism. So Prism's really weird after losing her tomes. This one still had a lot of the auras in there, so I was dealing with Genesis, Passing Mirage, Pierce Reality, some Arclight Sentinels, cleaning them up with Flail. At one point, they played Arclight Sentinel after I had played Beseech the Demigod, and so I still paid the life to Vynnset, and then I just swung Flail, and then since they had to take the Rune Chant damage because I had paid the life, I played a Succumb to Temptation and got my action point back, and just sent, a small attack. Still got to get in for damage, but eventually I got through. I got just really a lot of early attacks. So I was sitting on like 3 attacks and banished at one point, and I had already seen, I had looked at my ratios. I was mostly non-attacks in the deck, so I felt pretty confident that I was going to be able to take it. Got some really strong hands towards the late game and just was able to push through. Ended up pretty dominant. Round 4, I played against an Enigma. I think I just played really well. I denied a lot of ward. Whenever they had good turns, I had the Shadow non-attack action to answer it. Just worked really well. Late game, like the last turn, I think I caught him with a lot of non-blocks, so I was able to go Mauvrin Skies into a Phantom Wraith, which they weren't able to block the Mauvrin Skies. So I get 3 Rune Chants, and then I had a 4th with a Malefic Incantation. So I sent Shadow Puppetry into a Widespread Annihilation, into a Ruin from hand. He just conceded. It was over. Then last round was into a new who did not high roll me. I have my notes here. I played tight. I dodged Critical Disruption. At one point, I think he blocked with a Leave No Witnesses. So I was like, well, surely he has another Leave No Witnesses. So I arsenal a Funeral Moon, and he hits me with a Codex, Leave No Witnesses, and I don't really have to respect it. Worked really well. And then on another turn, he Codexes me again, and I put Bounding Demigod into my arsenal from Codex when I didn't have one already, and I don't think my opponent knew that he can choose how many cards he wants to banish from my arsenal, so he just says, okay, and your arsenal, I banish the Bounding Demigod. I'm very happy with that. My local new does not banish my arsenal if he knows what it is, so yeah, had a break on that. Last turn I played Puppetry into Widespread Destruction, and then off of a Malefic Incantation played a Eloquent Eulogy, and since I had paid the life on Puppetry, I played Funeral Moon with an Eloquence token from Eulogy into Bounding. Just a lot of damage, he couldn't keep up. It was a really, really good final turn. So ended that one going 3-2. The earlier 0-2 made me just not viable for top 8, made 10th, just really unfortunate. But off the back of those last 3 games, I felt really confident. So going into day 2 on Sunday, just felt like I was playing hot the day before, really felt ready to take it on. Round 1 of Sunday, I play into a Riptide, a regional Riptide who's pretty strong. He's been playing him for a while, really had a lot of success with him. It was my first time playing him, and it's a good matchup for Vynnset. We have a lot of damage, we have on hits, we can really threaten. We can set up if we feel like it, so like deny him value from traps in hand. We get value from traps sometimes. He has tokens that we can eat with Deadwood Dirge. It's just good. I kind of just won that one. Round 2 into Viscerai. Where's my sideboard here? Round 2 into Viscerai, I wanted to bring in my Malefic Incantations. My Malefics, my Succumbs, and my Sink Belows into Viscerai, and I was just going to play Dyadic Carapace. And then on like turn 2 of the game, I draw an Envelop in Darkness. I am wondering where this Envelop came from. I look in my box, and I see looking at me my Sink Belows, and I pick up my sideboard from my box. I see Sink Belows, Malefics, and Succumb to Temptations. And I had put in my deck Chains, Read the Runes Oblivion, and Envelop in Darkness. And I had my head in my hands. I had just separated them out, and then put the 9 that I wanted face down, and put the 9 that I didn't want face down, and grabbed the wrong pile. So, just really had a lot of blocking cards. I just Oh, I see an envelop in darkness. I can't play this efficiently. I'm just gonna block with it. Chains, same thing. It's not gonna do anything. I'll just block with it. Luckily, my opponent ran into like brick hand after brick hand after brick hand. That might just be the Viscerai experience. Eventually, I did draw into my Oblivion, the only card that I can't block with. I was like, how am I gonna get this out of my hand? But I had Arsenal to read the runes. I had an Eloquence token on the field from a Eulogy the previous turn. I was already planning on playing Reed into a Widespread Annihilation, so I just cracked Quill Hand, resolved Oblivion, never swung Nazareth. I just won that turn. I felt really, really lucky that I was able to take that one even with the misplays. I would have hated to lose that game. I even had to like check my deck earlier. I was like, okay, I need to make sure I have 60 cards. If I don't, I just need to concede this game. It was absolutely tragic. There were some really smart plays. At one point, he played a Tome of the Arknight, and, let's go gambling. Saw a Swarming and a Runic Reckoning, and he plays the Swarming, and he arsenals the Runic Reckoning after swinging with Nebula Blade, because it was like Swarming was his only attack. Pitches his other card to swing a Nebula Blade, and I deny the Nebula Blade so that he doesn't have the rune chance, so he has to work extra hard to play Reckoning next turn, and just deny the important things. Third round, I played into an Enigma, who is a really, really strong player, and I brought Reaping Blade because there is another Count Your Blessings Enigma on her team. But this one was just on basic Enigma. Because I didn't have Funeral Moon, or because I didn't have Flail, at one point they played a Mirror Guy with 4 counters off of a Chi. I had Funeral Moon in hand, but because I didn't have Flail, I couldn't clear the Mirror Guy immediately. So I took another set of damage. I had to use cards from hand and a Face Purgatory to block it, and just lost too much tempo. Still ended up really close. I had her down to 4, but yeah, just unfortunate. I drew a lot of early Shadow non-attack actions, so like there was one turn where, turn 0, I just passed. I had a Beseech I was going to Arsenal. She plays a Mirror Guy from hand, just pitching a blue, and so I play the Beseech and just play the Eloquent Eulogy I had just banished, and just swung Reaping Blade and just clear the Mirror Guy right there. And then she on one turn plays Spectral Shield, Astral Etchings, Restless Coalescence into another Spectral Shield, and I had another Shadow non-attack action, clear that. I had the answers the whole time, and if I had brought Flail, I would have had the answer when I needed it for the Mirror Guy. So I think I played really well. I think it was just a misplay based on sideboarding, and, we lose those. Into Azalea, I took another loss, which felt really bad. I really wanted to lock my top 8 position. Turn 0, they get to go first, knock into Red in the Ledger, but I just, set up on that turn. It was all right. And then at one point, he plays a couple buffs, and then realizes he didn't take his Tunic counter, and I was too nice. Never again let him get his Tunic counter, and Codex into Red in the Ledger. Put me behind. It was fine. I still got to play the game, but just late in the game, I had taken too much damage just strictly because of that play. I wasn't able to present damage straight back, and we lose those. He was at 1. It was really tight. I feel like I could have won that game. You live and you learn. So never given anyone anything ever again. Yeah, just unfortunate. That's on me. And then final round of Swiss, play into an Aurora, which I love that matchup. I just got to go fast. Like turn 0, I set up. Turn 1 of me, I succumb them, and I take, they had a Channel Lightning Valley down, so I got to take some pressure away from that. Turn 2, I succumb them again. I see Arc Lightning, Flicker Wisp. They had a Lightning Surge in their arsenal. They had, just a crazy, crazy good hand, and I just take the Arc Lightning and make it not as good. And then the next turn, I send a Destruction, taking just even more from them. Just a lot of disruption, a lot of damage. Late in the game, I was going to present 14 and definitely kill them, but I blocked with Creepers a little bit too hastily. I knew I wanted to use Creepers. I blocked with it anyways, and I was like, why did I do that? But I'd already blocked with it. Still won. So going into top 8 at 6th place, and then I played against a Victor. Top 8 was myself on Vynnset. There were 2 other Vynnsets. We had 3 Vynnsets at that event. Saturday, I was the only one. Sunday, we had 3 Vynnsets. All 3 of them made top 8. 2 Victors, both of them made top 8. The Enigma that I had lost to, and the Azalea that I had lost to. So I play into one of the victors. It's just really close. I don't know, it felt really close. It could have been closer. At one point I played a puppetry into Ruin and missed both of the banishes, like hit no blood debt on there. I didn't win or deny any of his clashes, never drew a Malefic incantation. I felt really pressured to present damage to strip a hand of his at one point, and I used a Revel that I had been sitting on in Arsenal from the beginning of the game, which it just never lined up naturally, so I just puppetryed it into a Ruin, and then of course, the next turn, I draw Oblivion. So, you know, what are you gonna do? Just some unfortunate occurrences. So we lose those top 8, but I got my Rainbow Foil Ausilio, the only hero I really want to play from Rosetta, so I'm happy about that. So overall, really good weekend. I had a lot of nerves going into it, but after day 1, I felt really good about day 2. After day 2, I feel really good about next weekend, and then, so I've got one next weekend and then one the final weekend, so really going for gold, you know? If I can take an invite, I'll try to make my way out to Europe. That's the goal. So yeah, just a really quick deck tech, really quick talk about my tournaments. Had a really good time this weekend. Wish I could have done better, but of course, yeah, I'm happy with a top 8, especially with Vynnset, who used to be pretty trash. I'm happy with top 8. I'm happy to see other Vynsets doing well. You know, let's keep playing this awesome hero. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you liked hearing me yap. Have a good one, y'all. See ya.